this is Andy from the Timeless Travel Club, and I recently took a flight out of the Tijuana airport. So why is that news? Because I actually utilized the CBX, the Cross-Border Express, on foot. I crossed the border on foot, and I'm here to share that experience with you all today. So I've been receiving a lot of comments from you all asking the question, a good question. Andy, you live in California, why aren't you flying out of TJ to take advantage of far better airline prices, direct flights to whichever major Mexican city you want? And I thought, well, why not? So I rolled the dice, and I'm here, I survived, and I'm lived to tell about it. So in order to explain my experience, first of all, let me say that I did a little research before I took this trip. I watched other YouTubers that have had the same experience, and I have to say, every experience was a little bit different. So I thought I was prepared, but yeah, no. I had a couple surprises along the way, and so I want to make sure that if and when you take this trip, and I think you should, if you live in California or if your circumstance dictates that you'll be in the area. So in order to explain my experience, I want to make sure I don't ramble here because there's a lot of offshoots that I could actually take here. I'm going to chunk it for you. I'm going to call them checkpoints, these airport or CBX and airport checkpoints. There's going to be 5 of them that you'll encounter. I'm going to list all the documentation that you need at each checkpoint, and I believe I could have been smarter at a couple of checkpoints that would have expedited my journey, would have gotten me into the Tijuana airport much sooner. Less aggravated. I stayed, of course, with a relative in San Isidro, and they drove me to CBX. But you can take a taxi, there are shuttles from the airport, I understand. I plan to do that someday. But for today, I was dropped off right in front of the CBX entry. First thing to consider, did I get a shot? If I got a shot of this, I'll post it. But parking seems to be an issue for some people. Some days the parking lot is completely full, but the day that we drove up, there was parking out in the street. My cousin-in-law tells me that these people here are actually taking advantage of the free parking, because if you go into the lot, obviously there's a charge. If you park in the street, it's a longer walk, but hey, free's for me. So you get to the CBX entry point, you walk in, the first thing you see is the Volaris check-in. Checking in was pretty easy. I'm here about 3 hours early, so that always makes it easier. It's really not very crowded at the moment, as you can see. But everybody is bilingual. They asked me a couple times for my boarding pass, so I guess that might be a little important to them. And the last thing that I had to present was my passport. So they tagged my check-in bag, and they also tagged my carry-on as well. Don't know the purpose of that, but I'm going to show you the next stage here. Just inside of the doors to the entrance of CBX, there are these kiosks that you could use if you needed to print your airline ticket, if you hadn't done so already. And in the corner of the room, there is a money exchange if you needed to change your dollars into pesos. I don't believe you'll get a very good exchange rate here. And then we encounter checkpoint number 2, which is where we officially enter the CBX part of the business. And this is where my problems began. Starting with this sign here, it says CBX Ticket purchased with Volaris, which is where I bought my ticket on the Volaris website. I followed the designated line, and when I arrived at the checkpoint, they asked me for 2 things: my boarding pass and my CBX ticket, which it seems like everybody else had a ticket, and I had my Volaris receipt printout, which wasn't going to do the trick. The attendants were pretty nice about it. They did a little investigating, they gathered my information, and they printed out an official CBX ticket. They scanned both my tickets, I got green lights, and it was off to the next checkpoint. This process was a little embarrassing because my situation kind of held up the line. Well, when it was all said and done, at this checkpoint, The young lady there, the CBX employee, advised me that the next time I travel through CBX to go to their website, make yourself an account, buy the ticket in their website so you can print out a CBX ticket that is more compatible with their system. Yeah, more on that later. All right, you now proceed past the CBX checkpoint, on the lookout for the next checkpoint, which it looks like you may encounter it right off the bat, with the luggage scanners. And at this point, I kind of wish that they would have scanned my heavy luggage, at least take it away so we wouldn't have to be bothered going up the escalators. But they do offer elevators, which I took advantage of. You go up to bridge level, and the semi-long walk begins. It's kind of a nice walk. The floor is nice and smooth. Your luggage should roll with no problem. They even offer a couple of views to look down at the ground level at the Tijuana airport, as well as construction of the new terminal. And at the halfway mark, you actually come upon the border, where you can stand on both the Mexican and US sides. Along the way, they give you nice reminders to prepare your documents. You have advertisement signage along the way. You take a hard left, and it begins. They actually tell you, Mexican citizens in this lane, foreigners in this lane, and hey, I'm all about staying in my lane. You take a quick temperature check, back into the elevator, back down to ground level, and then back to reality. Here's where the fun begins. Checkpoint number 3, immigration, baby. All right, so obviously, I can't use the camera while I go through security, but I wanted to. Well, that's where all the action took place, so I wanted to give you a rundown on my experience after this announcement. So we didn't have a very big line. There were only 2 inspectors, customs agents, and one was nice, one was not. I went through both, and I'll tell you why. So the first one, my first agent, they asked me for my passport, they asked me for my boarding pass, and they asked me how many days I was going to be in Mexico. I said 2 weeks. And I heard of this before, but if you're staying in Mexico for less than a week, you don't have to pay the 594 pesos to cross the border, to board your plane. So he directed me to another line, which is right in the entrance on the right side. As you go through the sliding glass doors, I paid my fee, and you... Okay, folks, current day Andy here, interrupting in the past Andy. I wanted to finish this part up because the airport noise just became unbearable. I didn't want to put you guys through that, so I took some notes on what I was talking about here. So the first immigration agent, are they customs agents or immigration agents? I'm not sure. He directed me to the cashier's line, so I had to pay this fee. I don't know what kind of fee it was. Extended stay tax, that's what I'm calling it. But when I finish with paying my fee, there's no hole in your place in line. You've got to go back from the beginning, back to start. And by the time I paid my fee, the line had already backed up. So there I am, stuck in line to visit the immigration agent once again. So second time through, I had to present once again my passport, my boarding pass, my receipt for the extended stay tax, and my, what am I missing? My immigration form. Never forget that one. And off I went. I finally went through. Now, you know, every Mexican airport that I've ever been to has a red light, green light. You press the button, and if you are green, you proceed on. If you hit the red button, then you're pulled aside, and all your stuff is gone through, right? At this immigration station, there's no red light, green light. There's a, hey you method. Come over here. So I got picked. They weren't rude about it. They're 2 nice guys. But they went through my stuff. They see a lot of equipment they've never seen before, so I had to explain to them the functionality of a couple of them. So they helped me put my stuff back together, and then off I went to checkpoint number, which one is this? Checkpoint number 4, luggage inspection. Now this is in addition to the 2 guys that went through my stuff. This is the one for the general public. And the line was long. This one took a little bit longer because they were pretty thorough. Once you get through that last station, you can breathe because that airport is nice. They have in TJ. I really enjoyed it. This is a great time to recognize and thank my sponsors, Manny and Dorothy, and all those who support me on Patreon, as well as my newest member, James. Thanks so much for being a patron, and Martha for making that one-time generous contribution through PayPal. And if you haven't done so already, so everybody says how easy it is to go through CBX, and I think the concept is great. The process could be great, but you know, the thing is you're in Mexico. And in Mexico, nothing is constant. Everything changes. Every time you come to the CBX, you can expect a different twist. This is my first time, and the twist was, it wasn't anything like everybody explained. So I'm here to experience it all for you, so when you show up, you won't be as surprised as you may be otherwise. So coming back to the United States from Mexico was pan comido, which I'm told is piece of cake in Spanish. After collecting my luggage and baggage claim and walking back over the bridge to the US side, I'm reminded of the trouble I had at the CBX checkpoint since I didn't have a printout of my ticket. But the CBX attendant said, no problem. Since I purchased my Volaris airline ticket and my CBX ticket on the same website, they are both built into your QR code for your plane ticket, and beep, he gets the green light with one pass over, and off I went. By the way, my trip through Michoacan, the state of Michoacan, was super excellent. You can watch those videos using the link above here. Would I use CBX again? Probably. I probably will, but it's not going to be a priority for me, and for the following reasons. Now, of course, these reasons are for myself personally. These reasons do not apply to everybody. I already have an hour's drive to the closest airport for me, 1 hour. And I have to pay probably about $100 to fly from Fresno to the San Diego airport, which gets me in position to use CBX. I have to taxi, Uber, or rent a car from the airport, which is 22 miles away from CBX. Taxi is going to cost me God knows how much. Uber is going to cost $80. I was surprised to see that amount. Renting a car was going to be $90. There is a shuttle. It costs $13. It's more like a colectivo when you're in Mexico. 22 miles is going to take about an hour to get you to or fro. Oh, and by the way, the pick up and drop off for this shuttle to the airport is not to the airport. It is at the rental car station. So you still have to take a bus to and from rental to the airport. $13, it's pretty good, but it's not very convenient for me. And depending on the flight times, whether they match or not, same day, I may have to rent a hotel for a night. That's an additional $100 to $150. We're talking San Diego prices here. So if I lived in Southern California, yeah, it's definitely doable. Since I live 6 hours away in a car in Central California, it's probably more convenient for me to take that longer flight, same day, using Delta, my favorite airline. So yeah, But if you're in a position to utilize CBX, it's a great concept. I'm sure it's going to be better going forward. But wherever you go, make sure it's safe, make sure it's timeless, and we'll see you on the next video. Ciao. Oh, and